You've been rejected before. It stung. You moved on. But being ignored, that silence, it doesn't just hurt. It follows you, stays in your chest for hours, makes you question things you never wanted to question. You told yourself you were overreacting. You weren't, because your brain doesn't process being ignored the way you think it does. And what's actually happening inside you is something you were never supposed to notice. You check your phone again. Nothing. Your heart rate changed 3 times in the last minute, and you didn't even realize it. Someone else's silence just entered your nervous system. And the worst part? You're helping them do it. By the time this ends, you'll know exactly why silence hurts you this way. And more importantly, you'll know how to stop it from ever controlling you again. Chapter 1. Micro scene. The blue ticks stare back at you. Sent. Delivered. Read. Then, nothing. You wait 2 minutes. Then 10. Then, you put the phone down like you don't care. But you do. You pick it back up. Open the chat. No new messages. Close it. Open it again. Your thumb hovers over the keyboard. You type something. Delete it. Type something shorter. Delete that too. You settle on a single word. Hey. Safe. Neutral. Begging for nothing. No reply. Now your chest starts doing something strange. Not pain exactly. More like pressure. Like someone placed a weight right below your throat and forgot to take it back. You tell yourself you're overthinking. But you can't stop. You scroll up. Read the last 5 messages. Analyze your tone. Did you sound desperate? Boring? Too much? Not enough? You find nothing wrong. And that makes it worse. Because if you had made a mistake, you could fix it. Apologize. Explain. Try again. But there's nothing to fix. Just quiet. So you do the thing you promised yourself you'd never do again. You send another message. Longer this time. Slightly more emotional. Hidden behind a joke so you can pretend you weren't really asking. You weren't talking anymore. You were negotiating for someone's attention. And the person on the other side? They have no idea any of this is happening. They're just living their life while you're rewriting yours around their silence. This isn't weakness. This is a pattern your brain learned, and you never realized who taught it to you. Chapter 2. Second person confession. Let me ask you something, and be honest, because no one else is going to hear this except you. When someone ignores you, what's the first thought that actually enters your mind? Not the polite one, not the one you tell your friends, not the "oh, they're probably just busy." The real one, the one that appears before you can stop it. Is it, "they don't care about me"? Or, "I did something wrong"? Or maybe, and this one is the most painful, "I'm not important enough to respond to." You didn't choose that thought. It chose you, within seconds, before any evidence, before any explanation. And here's what you never noticed. That thought doesn't feel like an opinion. It feels like a fact. Like someone just told you the weather. Like there's no alternate explanation worth considering. Your brain doesn't present silence as a mystery. It presents silence as a verdict. Now think about this carefully. Does this happen with everyone who ignores you? No. With a stranger? You don't care. With a coworker? You assume they're busy. With an acquaintance? You don't even check your phone twice. So why do certain people's silence trigger this? Why does one person's quiet send you into a spiral, while another person's quiet doesn't even register? Because your brain has a list. A silent list you never wrote consciously. It's a list of people whose approval you learned to need. People whose mood you learned to track. People whose silence, at some point in your life, meant you were in danger of losing something. Love, safety, belonging, validation. You're not reacting to their silence. You're reacting to what their silence has meant to you before. And that meaning, you attached it, not them. Which means, and stay with me here, you can unattach it. But first, you have to see the pattern for what it is. Not a mystery, not bad luck, not you're too sensitive. A survival program running on old software. Chapter 3. The flip. What if I told you that silence isn't actually quiet? Physically, yes. No sound, no words, no response. But inside your head, it's louder than any argument you've ever had. Louder than any criticism. Louder than any rejection you've ever received. Because when someone goes silent, your brain does something automatic, something you never asked for, something you can't stop no matter how hard you try. When there's no response, your mind creates one. And here's the part that will unsettle you. Your mind never creates something neutral. It doesn't think, they fell asleep, their phone died, they forgot to reply, they're overwhelmed with their own life right now. No. Your mind creates a verdict. They're disappointed in me. I said too much. They're pulling away because I'm not enough. I'm losing them and it's my fault. You're not hearing silence. You're hearing a sentence you passed on yourself. Guilty until proven innocent. Except no proof ever comes. Now here's the flip, and this is where most people stop reading. Don't be most people. The silence isn't doing anything to you. Your interpretation of the silence is. That's not philosophy. That's neurology. Your brain takes empty space and fills it with the most emotionally charged story it can find. Not because you're broken, because your brain is trying to protect you. It thinks if it can figure out the threat fast enough, you can fix it before you get hurt. But here's the problem. There is no threat, just space, just someone not responding, just a moment of quiet that you turned into an emergency. And the person on the other side? They have no idea. They're just sitting there, tired, distracted, overwhelmed, maybe even depressed, while you're rewriting your entire self-worth over 3 blue ticks. So here's the question you've never been asked. What if you stopped interpreting silence as danger? What if you treated it as nothing? Just space, just time, just someone else's inability to communicate, which was never your problem to solve. You've been carrying something that was never yours to carry, and you can put it down right now, not because the other person changed, but because you finally see who was holding the weight. Chapter 4, Origin Story. Let's go back, way back, before WhatsApp, before blue ticks, before you ever owned a phone or knew what seen meant. Think about the first time silence felt dangerous to you. You might not remember it clearly. Most people don't, but your body does. Your nervous system does. That tightness in your chest, that sudden alertness when someone goes quiet, that's old, much older than this conversation. When you were small, silence meant something specific. A parent who went cold instead of explaining. A caregiver whose quiet meant you were in trouble. A room that went silent when you walked in. A loved one who withdrew their presence as punishment. You didn't learn that silence is neutral. You learned that silence is a warning sign. Your brain connected quiet to danger. And it never disconnected. Now here's what happened. That same wiring stayed inside you. Long after you grew up. Long after you stopped needing anyone's approval to survive. Long after you became an adult who logically knows that silence doesn't always mean rejection. But knowing and feeling are 2 different countries, and your body never got the memo that you moved. So now, every time someone ignores you, you're not reacting to them. You're reacting to every version of you that was ever made to feel invisible. That tiny child who had to guess what the silence meant. That teenager who learned to read moods like survival maps. That young adult who believed that if they just tried harder, people would stay. All of them are still inside you. And silence wakes them up. That's why rejection is easier. Rejection is honest. It says no. It gives you something to hold. You can cry, get angry, move on. But silence? Silence tells you nothing. And your brain fills that nothing with every wound you've ever carried. You're not weak for feeling this. You're human for carrying history you never asked for. But here's the part nobody tells you. Just because your brain learned something doesn't mean it has to keep teaching you. Awareness isn't just knowing. Awareness is the moment you stop reacting automatically and start choosing differently. And that moment, it's closer than you think. Chapter 5. Depersonalization. Now let's take their power away. Not through revenge, not through silence of your own, not through playing games. through clarity. Step 1. Say this out loud. I don't care if it feels strange. The silence is not about me. Again, the silence is not about me. Because here's what you've been missing, and this is important. Some people go quiet because they're overwhelmed, not because you overwhelmed them. Some people disappear because they never learned how to say I need space without guilt. Some people ignore you because their emotional battery is dead, and you just happened to text when it hit 0. Some people are just bad at communication, and that was never your emergency to solve. You've been taking delivery of a package that wasn't addressed to you. Step 2. You don't actually know why they're silent. Read that again. Slowly, you assume. You guess. You catastrophize. You replay conversations like a detective looking for clues that don't exist. But you don't know, which means every sleepless night, every reread message, every knot in your stomach, every time you changed your tone to sound less needy, every time you apologized for nothing. All of that, all of it was over a story you wrote, not them. You. Step 3. Their response, or lack of it, is not your responsibility to fix. You are not an emotional repair service. You are not a mind reader. You are not a hostage negotiator. You are not required to decode someone's silence and present the correct password to receive basic respect. If someone chooses silence over communication, that's their choice, not your emergency. Let that land for a moment. You don't need to be chosen by someone who can't even send a text. You don't need to prove your worth to someone who treats your presence as optional. Now ask yourself the hardest question on this list. If you stopped chasing, stopped explaining, stopped apologizing for existing, stopped sending that second message, stopped rewriting your personality to fit their mood, who would actually show up and who would disappear forever? The answer to that question? That's the only closure you will ever need. Not their response, not their explanation, not their final message. Just who stays when you stop performing for their attention, and who leaves when they can no longer control you with silence. Chapter 6. The final realization. So here's where you are now. You've felt the silence. You've chased the response. You've questioned your worth over words that never came. You've replayed conversations that no one else even remembers. And for the first time, you see it clearly. Not because someone explained it to you, but because you finally stopped running from the answer that was always there. You weren't afraid of being ignored. You were afraid of what being ignored proved. Or so you thought. But it proved nothing. Except that silence triggers something old inside you. Except that your mind fills empty spaces with the worst possible stories. Except that you've been measuring your value through other people's availability. And that was never going to work. Not because you're broken, because you were using the wrong measuring stick. Here's what actually changed tonight. Not the other person, not their behavior, not their silence. You now know that the pain wasn't coming, it was coming from the meaning you attached to their quiet. You now know that your brain was trying to protect you from a threat that didn't exist. You now know that silence by itself is empty, just space, just time, just someone else's inability or unwillingness to communicate. And none of it has anything to do with whether you matter. Next time someone goes silent, you won't rush to fix yourself. You won't replay every word you said. You won't beg for a response in 14 different ways. You won't shrink yourself to fit into their quiet. You'll pause, you'll breathe, and you'll remember the silence was never the enemy. Your interpretation of it was. And interpretations? You can change those. Not overnight, not perfectly, but now you know which direction to walk. Some people will go quiet. Some will pull away. Some will never learn to say what they actually feel. That's disappointing. But it's not devastating because you're not waiting for permission to exist anymore. You're not powerless. You were just looking for your power in the wrong place, inside someone else's response. Look up now. The silence is still there, but it doesn't own you anymore. And that quiet, for the first time, it feels like peace. If this made you notice something you hadn't seen before, there's more like this, but only if you're paying attention.